Geek Citadel.
What more can you do after leading a gang on a homicidal rampage against all the people that stood in the way of your position of power? I don't know, maybe save the United States from nuclear winter and become the president. The next logical step is to take on the problems of the US and make the tough decisions that can affect millions of people.
Do you want to be the president who cured cancer or the president who solved world hunger?
Well, that could have been what the game was about if aliens didn't come down and ruin the fun. The Zen army has captured the Saints and flung them into a digital world much like the movie The Matrix. Instead of squashing them like bugs, the leader of the alien army decides to play with his ant farm. The president is trapped in a virtual representation of Steelport, and the entire program is out to destroy him. Luckily, the technical genius Kinsey is alive and well outside of the program. With her help, the president will find a way to fight back against the program and free his friends. The concept of this title started as a downloadable content for Saints Row III. For obvious reasons I will state later, it grew too big for its boots and became a thing of its own. The raucous comedy returns in abundance with parodies of other video games like Call of Duty, Mass Effect, and Metal Gear Solid.
Boss! Boss! Boss!
This whimsical take on the Matrix may have finally stolen the championship from Conker's Bad Fur Day. With superpowers comes great responsibility, or lack thereof. The essence of Saints Row stays the same by allowing you to steal cars and shoot guns, but the dynamics have shifted to a godlike level to make things fresh. In the Zen Matrix, the president is imbued with a bevy of special abilities. He can catapult across the sky like the Hulk, zip through the streets at high speeds, or toss people and vehicles through the air with his mind. Players don't spend cash to upgrade powers. That's reserved for buying things like bonuses and gang upgrades. The president will have to traverse the urban jungle to find data clusters that will increase his capabilities. My friend Matt says it reminds him a lot of Crackdown, and it's just as addicting to bound around the city collecting every juicy cluster. I spent 2 hours after I earned my new abilities just running around gathering data clusters in preparation for the next power increase. The distraction was enough that I realized that I was only a few missions into the actual campaign, and this trend continued as I spotted new activities and side missions. The content for Saints Row 4 tops anything that the third brought to the table. While in the Zen Matrix, new minigames like the Rift and Professor Genki's Mind Over Matter, or MOM for short, put the ridiculous new powers through their paces. Outside of the false world, the ship houses comrades in arms who have many tasks for the president to complete.
Dr. Pierce orders you to go out and have fun, blowing off some steam. Don't argue, just go.
The wealth of challenges and side missions offer cash, costumes, and even upgrades to powers. If you want a little downtime, you can talk to people on the ship and even proceed to have romantic relations with them.
I normally don't swing that way, but fuck it, I'm down.
The content itself varies so much that you would think that Saints Row would suffer from jack-of-all-trades syndrome. That's not the case in the least. Each minigame is exceptionally well done. Once you've played Saints' representation of Streets of Rage, you'll be itching to play it for more than the nostalgia factor. The main portion of the game is littered with high-speed escalation and devastating combat abilities. While down in the President simulation, there are super attacks that are useful in tandem with weapons. Weapons are still the main way to inflict damage on the aliens. Superpowers are governed by a recharge meter and should only be used tactically. Let's say you need a breather for a moment. You can release an ice blast to freeze your enemies and spread through their bodies for maximum carnage and health pickups. The powers cease to exist when playing in different simulations during the story missions. The president has to count on his trusty weapons and his driving skill to stay alive in a different mind. Luckily, these moments of being depowered are filled with impressive alternative content. They range from taking down a ship full of enemies with a mech to reminiscing with old characters from previous games in the series.
Well, nobody could replace you, Johnny. Fight.
Yes, that means that Johnny Gat is back in action, and damn if it isn't good to see him doing his thing. I'd say the worst part about Saints Row 4 is the visuals. It looks like Saints Row III, but it's a tiny bit uglier in my opinion. This iteration is a bit blurrier and suffers from heavy frame rate issues. The music selection for the radio channels is interesting, but it's highly likely it'll all start to blur together after about 10 hours of game time. I didn't mind shutting it off either, since one of the new voice choices is none other than Nolan North himself.
Nolan!
Saints Row has officially taken itself to a new level of greatness. The The superpowers, movie references, and game parodies have turned this series about street hustlers into something infinitely more entertaining. Saints Row 4 receives 4 stars out of 5 from Geek Citadel. The outlandish and self-aware comedy will keep you laughing until the end.
And I take 2 steps forward,
I take 2 steps back.
we come together cause opposites attract, and you know it ain't fiction.
Just a natural fact.
We come together cause opposites attract.